The Sega 32X. It was an advancement in gaming technology. It changed the way we played our games. It was a big failure. The first two things I said were completely not true. Okay, jokes aside, there's tons of videos explaining the history of the 32X, but I will give a brief rundown in case you're unfamiliar. Sega made this ugly thing to stick into the top of your Genesis to play a new library of games with advanced 32-bit graphics. See, back in the 90s, numbers were important. Sega wanted to get ahead of the competition now that 32-bit consoles were becoming the norm. And so, the 32X was born. Unfortunately, due to a large factor of reasons including a rushed development cycle, failure to garner support from third-party developers, and their new console coming out in a mere 6 months, the 32X is widely deemed to be one of the biggest failures in the history of gaming. To give you a brief idea of how poorly it sold, they originally sold it for around $160 give or take, and it was selling poorly. Then they lowered the price to $99, still selling poorly. Eventually, Sega had a whole inventory to clear out, so they were selling it for $19.95. That's like the price of a fancy toy. I gotta say, I'd feel really bad for anyone who bought it at full price. Now, we've established that the 32X was a massive failure and that many people have already delved into that subject. But how many people talk about the games for it? Not very many, but I can't say I'm terribly surprised. Aside from Knuckles Chaotix, it didn't have very many noteworthy games. Like really, name 3 32X games. I'll give you some time. Not to worry, by the end of this video, you'll be able to name way more than 3. You'll be familiar with all 34 32X games. Yes, I did say only 34. The 32X did sell like garbage after all. Actually, even garbage would sell better. It's worth noting that there's technically 40 32X games, but that's including the handful that also require the Sega CD. I'm not covering these games because for some reason my computer has a hard time running them, and I don't own a Sega CD, so yeah. Luckily, it doesn't seem like we're missing out on too much. They're closer to those crappy FMV games than anything. Night Trap is iconic though, I'll give it that. But enough kibitzing, let's get to the very first Catalogue Clash.
Let's go crazy!
We're going to be going through the entire Sega 32X catalog, ranking them and finding out which one's the worst and which one is the least bad. We're going to be going by North American release, so let's jump right in. Doom. Starting off with Doom, the granddaddy of all FPS games. Out of the seemingly never-ending console ports of Doom, surprisingly, this was the first. This one came out at the same time as the 32X back in 1994, while the SNES and PS1 versions wouldn't come out until late 1995. If you're a Doom fan, I'm sure you've heard of the 32X version at least once or twice. It's not amazing, but I gotta be honest, it's really not that bad. Now, I'm not a huge Doom fan, but I've played the first one a couple times and it's a great game. This one controls well, and the graphics, while not amazing, certainly show off the 32X's capability. Don't get me wrong, it's not without its problems. The music, if you can even call it that, is just awful. What really confuses me about this trash soundtrack is you'll see later on that the 32X is capable of some amazing music. Most Doom fans will agree that the console ports don't do the original game justice, but we're not here to talk about Doom ports, we're talking about 32X games. This one's not terrible, but you can do better. If you were a kid in 1994, you'd be better off getting a PC and playing the real thing instead of asking your parents to buy you $189 console, $159 peripheral, and a $69.95 game. Unless your dad was Magic Johnson, that's not happening. Fun side note, the box for Doom on the 32X has a messed up spine.
It's a misprint.
Hilariously, that's one of the only interesting things about this port. Next up, Star Wars Arcade. Now let me just say, right off the bat, I'm not what you would call a Star Wars fan, but I do have a soft spot for Star Wars video games. I grew up with LEGO Star Wars, and I remember watching my older brother play Force Unleashed. Does anybody remember that game? It was awesome. I didn't really have any expectations going in, but this is a fun time. Nothing mind-blowing, just an average space shooter. But the graphics are impressive, sound effects are crisp, and the music quality is crazy. This is like CD level quality. Also, Admiral Akbar's voice is just really, really funny.
Attention all wing pilots. Stand by to receive orders.
Don't get me wrong, it's a little repetitive, but this one's solid. I can see why this was one of the launch titles. Unfortunately, you're going to notice a little bit of a trend. The further down we go the 32X's library, the less they'll try and wow you with the graphics. There's really not much else to say about this one. I think I'll still put Doom a little higher because it has more content, but this one is very arcade style. Nothing wrong with that, that's just how it is. Okay, next. Virtua Racing Deluxe. What's so deluxe about it? It's a racing game. I'm not a big racing game guy, but when I do play racing games, I like the ones with fun characters, creative tracks, and ideally some kick-ass music. This game has none of those things. If any positives, the graphics are impressive and, once again, show off the capabilities of the 32X quite well. Remember, this was back when people basically only cared about graphics. Putting this one at the bottom, it's not bad, it's just really, really boring. Cosmic Carnage. Now this one is interesting. Concept-wise, I really like it. It's a 2D fighter with a futuristic theme and robot characters. These characters are interesting to say the least. Let's take a look, shall we? This guy looks like Silver Surfer, but when you hover over him, he looks nothing like the picture. We have Silik, Zenalan, Naruto, Tyr, Talmak, Yug, Naja, or I guess it could be Naha, and Demon. It's Demon. Some of the character designs are pretty cool, but some of these names are just weird. Oh, I forgot to talk about the actual game. It's awful. Like really, really awful. You might think my footage is a little laggy, but no, that's just the game. I promise it's running fine. The game is just really, really slow. I know it takes place in space, but does it have to feel like I'm jumping on the moon? Like any shovelware 2D fighter from this time, the moves are impossible to do and the game is ridiculously hard for no reason. Now, I'm a big fan of fighters, but this is a joke. I can't imagine anyone actually having fun with this. This is going at the bottom. Side note, 3 of the characters were changed completely from their original Japanese variations. These 3 were originally humans. I think a little species variety would have been nice, but definitely wouldn't help a garbage game like this. Afterburner Complete. Afterburner, it's a Sega classic. One that I happen to really hate. Look, I love hard games personally. I'm a big fan of Mega Man, Castlevania. I even beat Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection 100% on the hardest difficulty. Okay, I'm just flexing at this point, but my point is, it has to be fun. It can't just be hard as hell, it has to be fun too. Afterburner is not fun. I just keep dying, and when I am alive, I just zoom around shooting guys. There's absolutely no strategy whatsoever. What is fun about this? It looks great, but that's all I got. I did play a bit of Afterburner 2 on Genesis just to compare, and it's basically the same game. The 32X version does look a little better, but gameplay-wise, they're almost identical. What's the point? Come on, oh, go! Dude! I have died so many times. I know I'm probably just bad at it. One might say, Shai, why don't you play on easy mode? Funny story. I am playing on easy mode, and I maxed out my lives. Still stupid. I don't like this game at all. Afterburner, you're lucky Cosmic Carnage is utter dog crap. Otherwise, you'd go at the bottom without a moment's hesitation. Golf Magazine, 36 Great Holes starring Fred Couples. What a mouthful. I don't even know who Fred Couples is. I did some digging, hired the best PI this side of the Mississippi, had my crack team of scientists find everything they can about this guy, and I found out he's a professional golfer. This game is boring. I don't like that many sports, and golf is not one of them. Even Mario Golf, I have to be in a very certain mood to want to play. This game is just the most basic golf game I've ever played. It has some very fluid animation, and Fred even introduces the game at the start, see?
Hello, I'm Fred Couples. Welcome to Golf Magazine's 36 Great Holes.
See? Full motion video. No Sega CD required. Yeah, I'm not very good at these kinds of games. This was a 4-par hole, and it took me 17 strokes. And good old Fred made fun of me every step of the way.
That's wet.
Oh, well, you're very observant. One more comment like that, and I'm gonna go full Happy Gilmore on you. How's that sound?
Ah, you're in the beach.
Actually, Fred, I'm at home. Don't try and mess with my head. Anyway, unsurprisingly, this game isn't very good. I mean, it works fine. If you are into golf games, you might enjoy it, but I'm not. I'll put it above Cosmic Carnage, but below Afterburner. Afterburner may piss me off, but at least it's not boring. Motocross Championship. Well, this game's another heap of nothing. It's just a basic motorcycle racing game. Not a very fun one at that. I can't stop falling off. The sprite work makes it difficult to tell if you're leaning forward or not, and I get all disoriented. Aside from decent, if maybe a little generic music, this game has absolutely nothing to write home about. I'll take Excitebike over this any day. I'll put it above Golf Magazine. NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Now, I know I said a minute ago that I don't like sports games, but basketball's pretty cool. NBA Jam is pretty fun, and this is a fine version of it. It doesn't do anything out of this world. Plus, NBA Jam was already on the Genesis. What reason would you possibly have for playing this version over the original? They don't even look that different. Gameplay-wise, they're basically identical. This one has almost no point in existing. It's still a fine game, but just feels like a desperate cash grab. Also, look at this. It's a whole new game. Well, that's just simply not true. We're really resorting to false advertising. Do they think people will really buy a new version of a game they already have with almost no new change? Oh, wait. Well, I'll take it over virtual racing, I guess. NFL, quarterback club. Sucks. I don't like football, and this game is impossible to control. I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. I don't fully understand the rules of football, but isn't it just trying to get a ball to the other side of the field? Why do the controls have to be so complicated? Also, I was trying to pick the 49ers here. I thought I did. Anyone watching me would think I did, but in the actual game, now I'm the Seahawks. This game has no rules. Sucks. And guess what? It's already on Genesis. Hey, you know what? We should have an unnecessary port counter. That could be fun. I'm counting this and NBA Jam so far. Anyways, this game is garbage. I would actually rather play Cosmic Carnage. RBI Baseball 95. Another sports game. Whether you like it or not, Sega had an edge for their market in sports games. I don't care for sports in real life, but if there's one sport I love, it's baseball. I love baseball. I love modern baseball. Anyone else know that band? Oh, whatever. Oh, right, the game. So it's actually not bad. When you understand the rules of baseball video games are actually quite fun. This one is easy to control, the graphics are fine, and it has some good sound effects. I mean, it's no backyard baseball, but it's pretty good. I'll put it above virtual racing. Space Harrier. This game is pretty fun. It's no masterpiece, but it's easy to learn and hard to master. The music kicks ass. Hiroshi Kawaguchi and Yu Suzuki do a lot of music in Sega games, and they always kill it. You're gonna find yourself dying a lot, but personally I'm not complaining because the death noise is so funny. That's just too good. Admittedly, Space Harrier 2 was already out on Genesis, so maybe you could just play that. But hey, still a fun game. I'll put it above Star Wars. Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, Starship Bridge Simulator. Just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? It's a role-playing simulation game, not a very fun one at that. I like Star Trek, and even I think this game is for geeks. If you could customize your own character a little more, have a clear, cohesive goal, and maybe some less repetitive music, this game would be okay at best. I spent a good amount of time playing pool. Yeah, I'm not very good. I found this combat simulation part, which is the only part that demonstrates the 32-bit power, but it's so lame. You just move around and occasionally fire at a ship. This game is really, really lame, but I guess I enjoyed it more than Afterburner. And it counts as an unnecessary port. It was already on Super Nintendo. T-Mech. Now this is what I'm talking about. It's basically a giant futuristic tank deathmatch thing. It's pretty cool. If you had more people, it might be kind of fun. There's not a whole lot of strategy. You just go around, shoot, and try to not die. I feel like there's a great game somewhere here. I'll give it this. Presentation-wise, it's really good. I love the menu, the futuristic UI, and this oddly villainous voice that commentates here and there. This game's pretty fun, I like it. I'll put it above NBA Jam. Tempo! Wow, this is what you might call a pleasant surprise. This game is actually pretty cute. It's a 2D side-scroller where you play a cute little guy named Tempo. Even as a rap introduction.
You know what time it is. Yo, homie, peep in! Tempo, check it out, you know, he makes it funky, and he's good to go. Everything, catch the groove in New York, LA, and San Francisco.
Okay, that was really cool. They really didn't have to go that hard. I've never fallen in love with the character so fast. I love how smooth the animations are, and the graphics are straight out of a cartoon or something. Tempo does this cute little dance, I love it. The level design can be a little confusing, and it took me a while to figure out how to run, but I was really enjoying myself with this game. I could see myself coming back to this and playing more. It was a little bit hard, and every time you die, the audience laughs at you. Not cool, guys. You know, I can't stand when games make you feel bad when you die. If I die, odds are I already feel bad. Why do you have to rub it in? Also, check out this trick I found. If you keep kicking a wall, you can basically fly. Neat, huh? If I were to name any flaws, it took me a while to figure out how to get into the actual game. This screen is supposed to act as a level select of sorts, but it's not very intuitive. Like, what is this? Clowns are girls? I guess girls? Once you figure it out, it's not too bad. Oh, and another major problem, the box art. Let's have a look at the Japanese box art. It looks like Tempo. Looks just like how he does in the game. Aww, he's adorable. Somebody get him a blanket and some hot chocolate. Meanwhile, the US one is all, oh my god, here, just don't hurt me. Why were the 90s so obsessed with taking cute Japanese character designs and making them butt ugly? Bottom line, this game is still going at the top. It's just oozing with personality. It being a 32X exclusive definitely gives it an edge in the competition. Maybe in another video we can go into greater detail and talk about the Game Gear and Saturn installments of Tempo. WWF Raw. Wow, this game is really, really lame. There's not much to say. I picked this clown guy because I thought it'd be fun to wrestle a clown, and it is, just not in this game. I'll admit, I was able to pull off some pretty sweet moves, but I was mostly just tapping buttons until stuff happened. I'm not crazy about this game. If you want a good classic wrestling video game, try No Mercy on N64. This one blows. Also, the SNES version is almost identical. That's another unnecessary port, one for the counter. Oh yeah, the ranking. I'll put it above Motocross Championship. Metalhead. This one's not bad. You're in a giant mech, going around a city destroying other mechs. I'll admit it sounds a lot cooler than it actually is. I was having fun at first, but then this guy showed up out of nowhere and said the bomber would take care of things. Huh? Then this bomber showed up, destroyed my targets, and messed up my navigation system so I couldn't even find them on the map. I wandered around aimlessly for like 5 minutes. Eventually I ran out the timer. Overall, not too bad, but could have been a little more refined. I'll put it above Virtual Racing. Brutal, above the claw. Wow, this game is a mess. I can't even get the name right. Wikipedia calls it Brutal Above the Claw, but the title says Brutal Unleashed Above the Claw. It's a lame name. I would have called the game what it is, Furry Fighter. Not a bad concept, but executed horribly. Want to hear a great sign? I couldn't even access the training mode. One of the most quintessential things for any fighter, and you can't even access it without a second player. Just like Cosmic Carnage, we're gonna have a look at the roster. I mean, it is debatably the most important part of any fighter. Oh, and also having it work, but we'll get to that. We have Kung Fu Bunny, Prince Leon of Kenya. Oh, okay, that's actually a pretty good name. Tai Cheetah is also a good name. Ray Rat, I guess. Panther? Is that what it is? Panther? Did they mean wizard dog? Because that's not a panther. Kendo Coyote. How many of these are just going to be a fighting style followed by an animal? How about some actual names? Foxy Roxy. Real subtle, guys. At least she has a name. So does Ivan the Bear. But then we just have Karate Croc. Come on, guys. Dalai Lama. Now that's good. That's really good. I can't even tell what this Chung Po guy is supposed to be. Like an otter or a seal, maybe? Oh, Psycho Kitty. That's charming. These characters are just so odd to me. I feel like some creativity went into drawing them, but they have so little personality. It's like they just exist to exist. Now, how's the actual game? It's absolutely horrible. This game is broken. I mean it doesn't work, it's broken. I gave Karate Croc a try and I beat Panther with minimal effort by just spamming this kick move. But look, I get the Psycho Kitty, and look what happens. We move in conjunction with each other. I approach him, he moves off screen. He approaches me, and even though I swear I'm not touching a single button on the controller, I automatically move backwards. I was trying some special moves, maybe see if there was a projectile or something. I tried every move you can think of, quarter circle punch, back half circle punch, forward kick, anything, and nothing worked. I guess Croc and Kitty are just doomed to be stuck in eternal combat and can't even hit each other. This game goes below Cosmic Carnage. At least that game worked. Not very well, but it worked. Mortal Kombat 2. Finally, a normal fighter. Damn good one too. I love classic Mortal Kombat. But what the hell? Does it look a little bit like a Genesis game to you? That's funny. Probably because it looks almost exactly like Mortal Kombat 2 on Genesis. I mean, were they serious? I mean, really. The only difference I could find is there's more voice clips in this version. What good reason is there to buy this when the original version is right there? If it added new characters or like a 3D background or something, I would get it. But voice clips? Is it that much of a selling point? Also, I swear the CPU is easier on the Genesis version. On the 32X one, I couldn't even get past Baraka. But on Genesis, I made it all the way to Jax, and even pulled off a fatality. I know it sounds like I was being mean to this game, but I do like it. Even if it is an unnecessary port. By the way, we're at 5. I'll put it above T-Mech. Knuckles Chaotix. Okay, I won't spend too much time on this game as it has already been torn to shreds, but it's pretty bad. It sucks, because Knuckles is my favorite Sonic character, and I love Team Chaotix. This game just doesn't do them justice. The whole two characters at once mechanic is so confusing to me. What was the appeal here? Who tried this and thought it was fun? There's a lot of confusing decisions in this game, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's not great or even really good, but I will say it is playable. I'll put it above T-Mech. Tough Man Contest. You thought a bad wrestling game was bad? How about a bad boxing game? A poor man's Punch-Out, you could say. In Punch-Out, the boxers have patterns and they're easy to dodge once you get a feel for the timing and their moves. This guy's just throwing random punches out of nowhere. I can't block them and dodging is too hard. Punch-Out also has fun, creative characters for you to fight. This game has a bunch of boring guys who sound like real people. I could not figure out how to play this game for the life of me. Oh, and guess what? It was already on Genesis. My theory is Sega was so desperate to sell 32Xs, they released a bunch of barely updated versions of Genesis games. This game is atrocious. I'm putting it below Brutal Unleashed. B.C Racers. Okay, aside from having the worst main menu I've ever seen in a game, this game is pretty fun. It's probably the best racing game on 32X. It has a really good sense of speed, the controls are tight and responsive, the cartoony caveman motif reminds me of the Flintstones. You can do this strange scream thing, but I have no clue what it does. Sometimes I just do it at the start of the race for good luck. This game is surprisingly pretty fun. I got a few tracks in before I lost at the jungle track. Now that one is hard. There's not much else to say. It's just a good, solid racing game. I'll put it above Star Wars Arcade. Shadow Squadron. This one is very basic. Kind of a poor man's Star Wars Arcade. The only thing I have to say is, I don't know how to win. I mean, I destroyed all the ships, but nothing happened. I tried destroying these big ones for a while, but again, nothing happened. Eventually, I just gave up and died. This game just feels unfinished. I'm putting it below Star Trek. Zaxxon's Mother Base 2000. This game does have a unique perspective for this kind of game. It's interesting, but this game is way too hard. I even set it to easy and I still got my ass handed to me. Is a health bar asking for too much? I was determined to beat the first level at least, but I died like 5 times just trying to get to the boss. When I did manage to make it to him, I died. And I got a game over. A game being too hard is a perfectly valid complaint. I'm putting it right above Afterburner. Both games were way too hard to be enjoyed for me, but at least this game has a cool presentation. Blackthorn. Blackthorn is a very interesting game. It's kind of like a Metroidvania. Kind of. You play the ever so badass and sexy Kyle Blackthorn Vlaros, gunning down these ogre things and saving civilians. It's kind of interesting to be honest. Not really for me, but I see the appeal. I feel like this is something my dad would have played back in the day. I gave the Super Nintendo version a try and I feel like a broken record at this point, but yeah, the Super Nintendo version is basically the same. It even came out first. Am I losing my mind? That's another for the unnecessary port counter. I guess whichever version you play is up to you. Do you prefer the pre-rendered models of the 32X version or the more traditional spray work of the SNES version? I promise they play about the same. Hi, sorry to interrupt your video, but I was doing more research on Blackthorn while editing this, and I made a mistake. The 32X version does add more content. It adds a whole new area that isn't present in any other version of the game. So it doesn't count as an unnecessary port because it actually adds more content. My bad. I'll put it above T-Mech. This at least seems like a game with heart and a clear vision. Colibri. Okay, this was one of the strangest games I've ever played, and I'm not even close to exaggerating. You play as this little hummingbird named Colibri. I spent like 5 minutes just flying around this little area. The backgrounds looked gorgeous, but I was really confused as to what to do. Seriously, I tried every button everywhere and nothing happened. I did find this gigantic frog. Seriously, why is it so damn big? Is it like a perspective thing or... Oh, I'm dead. It's really no big deal when you die. You come right back and lose nothing. I was noticing these bees were disintegrating when I touched them. Could that be my goal? Alright, I destroyed them all and nothing. A first level should not be this confusing. I have no idea what to do. This is gonna sound funny, but I actually checked the official manual. I figured if the manual can't help me, nothing can. So according to the manual, I'm supposed to drink from the orange. Are you kidding me? Who was gonna figure that out? Okay, so I drink from the flower, and this really strange cutscene occurs. You see what I mean when I say this game is really weird? I see absolutely no appeal. Who is this game even for? Ornithologists turned gamers? Even after I get powers, I'm not having fun. Why would I want to play a game that requires you to check a manual every 2 seconds? This game is just odd and a little boring. I'll put it below Zaxxon. Pitfall, the Mayan Adventure. I gotta tell ya, I'm pretty impressed. First of all, I didn't even know there were other games in the Pitfall series, or that there was a Pitfall series. Before I forget, this is no masterpiece, but it's a neat little platformer with some interesting set pieces. I love how smooth and cartoony the animations are. And you're not just going from left to right, you're going all over the stage, but the game always points you in the right direction. Like, literally, points. Take notes, Calibri. I enjoyed what I played, and I could see myself coming back to this. The controls aren't the best, but you get used to them, and they're not bad. I didn't get this far, but you could unlock the original Pitfall in this game as an Easter egg. Kinda like playing the original Donkey Kong in DK64. If I can think of any flaw, this is another for the unnecessary port counter. Before this one, there was a Super Nintendo, Genesis, Sega CD, and a Jaguar version. The graphics aren't all that different either. It's still a pretty fun game. I'll put it above Space Harrier. Virtua Fighter. Well, this was a surprise. I'll be honest, I've played this before and I remember really hating it. But I think it's grown on me a bit since then. I enjoyed myself quite a bit. Between the charmingly polygonal graphics and the sweet tunes, there's a lot to like in this game. I actually got pretty far, until I got my ass kicked by some ninja named Kage. I tried so many times to beat him, but he's too hard. Has this game aged like a fine wine? Maybe not, but it's more like leftover pizza. Not everyone likes leftover pizza, but I certainly do. If I had another person to play with and maybe a couple of silversmiths, this could be a great time. And yes, I did pick Wolf because he's Canadian. Like me. I had a lot of fun. I'll put this one above B.C Racers. WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. I'm not a fan of wrestling or wrestling games. This one is no exception. At least with the other one, I was able to pull off some moves, but with this one, I couldn't do a single one. Kept getting my ass handed to me by The Undertaker. Oh my god, look at that. Could The Undertaker really do that stuff in real life? Bret the Hitman Hart wasn't doing me any favors, so I tried Doink the Clown. I know I fought him last time, but I figured we have a common enemy this time. Sadly, I did even worse with Doink. I will give it this, the presentation is really fun. I love the menus and the sound effects, but this game is just lame. I'll put it above WWF Raw. They both stink, but at least this one has some cool moves and solid presentation. Oh, also, it's another unnecessary port. The PS1 version was already out. Primal Rage. This was one of the worst games ever made. I'm sorry, but this game is atrocious. The graphics are just hideous. The music sounds like someone took a cheese grater to my cochlea. And worst of all, the game is not fun. Whose idea was it to have a fighter with moves that are impossible to do? I gave this game a fair shot and I checked the moves first. I couldn't do a single one. Am I doing something wrong? Do you wanna know what pisses me off the most? It seems like something I should like. A 2D fighter with a bunch of dinosaurs and gorillas pissing and farting on each other? Sounds like my kind of game. But no, it's just a big steaming pile of crap. I hate this game so much. It goes right at the bottom, no question. Also, when checking if it counts as an unnecessary port, which it does, I found out there's a Game Boy version. Primal Rage on Game Boy. Now that's gotta be a treat. World Series Baseball starring Deion Sanders. I'm gonna keep it brief, I don't like this one. While RBI Baseball was fun and easy to understand, this one was needlessly complex. I barely understood what I was doing. Oh, and it was already on Genesis. That's 10. I'm putting it above Tough Man Contest. The Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Fire. Now I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and I had pretty low expectations going in, but this game is pretty good. Not great, but good. The graphics are nice, the controls are easy to understand, and my guy Daredevil is there. Hell yeah, look at him go. Daredevil isn't the character I would use for a screen nuke, but I'm not complaining. The web swinging and wall crawling all feel great. I don't think they realized how easily players could avoid any and all obstacles by just swinging over them. Don't get cocky like I did, the swinging does use up web energy. Yeah, I learned that one the hard way. This game is really hard. I died a lot, but it's not overly hard. I was really caught off guard by this guy. Who the hell is he? He looks like he jumped out of Primal Rage. Luckily, I killed him in no time. No, like really, I killed him. He's dead. Guess he was Dragon Man. I don't even know who that is, but after some extensive research, and by that I mean a single Google search, he and Spider-Man have fought before, so I guess there's some accuracy. If you want a retro Spider-Man game that's good and challenging, I'd recommend this one. Plus, exclusive to the 32X. It was the final game released for it, and a good one to leave on. Now, if you want to play it on official hardware, you may have to drain your entire life savings, because holy sh**. I saw this game in person at a swap meet once, and I practically jumped when I saw the price. With all that being said, I'm putting this game at the top. Well, we did it. We have reviewed every 32X game released in North America. So we're done, right? Surpriseies! We have 3 bonus games that never came out in North America. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's jump right in. FIFA Soccer 96. I wanted to get this one out of the way first. It's undeniably the least interesting. It's just soccer. Well, it only came out in Europe, so I guess I should call it football. Now, this came as a bit of a surprise, but this game is pretty fun. I know, I'm shocked too. It looks great, the music is awesome, and it's easy to learn. I even scored a pretty nice goal right here.
Yes! Hell yeah!
I mean, it's no masterpiece, and I probably wouldn't go out of my way to play it, but I enjoyed what I played. What's interesting is this game was already out on Genesis, so you could mark this as an unnecessary port. It also later came out on Saturn and PS1, so it's no surprise this version never hit the shelves in North America. All I can say is, it's not bad. I'll put it right below RBI Baseball. Songo Kushi 4. Alright, this game is really weird. For starters, Songo Kushi 4? What happened to the first 3? I did some digging and I learned this is a very long-running franchise dating back to the NES. The last installment was Songo Kushi 14. It released in 2020 for modern consoles including the Switch and PS4. How crazy is that? It's some sort of strategy game based in ancient China. I'm not big on foreign history, but if you are, and also you like really boring games with no point, then this is for you. You may think it's no surprise that this was only released in Japan, as a game like this surely has no Western market. But nope, it does come out over here, only it's called Romance of the Three Kingdoms. That's way too cool of a name for a game like this. What I found really odd is this particular game, the 4th installment, did come out over here on the Super Nintendo and the PS1. So they just ported it to 32X and never released it here. Why? Obviously because it's in Japanese, I had no clue what I was doing. I just pressed random buttons. This game is difficult to rank. It's not bad, I just don't understand the appeal. To give it a completely fair shot, I tried the Super Nintendo version, which is in English. But I still didn't understand what the objective was. Seeing as how they're 14 games in, this game definitely has an audience. It's just not for me. It might be the least intuitive game I've ever played in my life. Sorry if you're a big Songo Kushi fan, but this is going under brutal. Dark Side. Time for our last game. Thankfully, it's a good one to go off on. Although it's yet another space shooter, I don't mind. It's like a 3D version of Asteroids with cool techno music playing. Why this only came out in Europe is an interesting question. Sega was planning a new console called the Sega Neptune. Think of it like a standalone 32X. But after the 32X sold terribly, the Neptune was also scrapped. Darkside was supposed to be a launch title, so it was going to come out here, but it was cancelled along with the Neptune. I can't help but wonder what other launch titles they had planned. I kind of wish the 32X had sold better so we could have a Sega Neptune. Hey, do you think if you put a 32X in a Sega Neptune, it would be a 64X? That's an experiment for another day. Back to Darkside. It's nothing life-changing, but out of all the 3D space shooters for the 32X, I think this one's my favorite. I'll put it right above Star Wars. And there we have it. Our very first Catalogue Clash is complete. We played some good games, played some bad games, but above all else, I hope you enjoyed the ride. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, the worst game on 32X is Primal Rage. I have said enough about it. And the best game for the Sega 32X is Spider-Man Web of Fire. I really did want to give it to Tempo, but it has too many confusing game design choices, and you could argue it's a case of style over substance. I could be slightly biased as a Spider-Man fan, but I'm not a brainless fanboy. I'm not putting it on top just because it has Spider-Man. I'm putting it on top because it's the game I had the most fun with. Neither game is great, so they're difficult to compare from the get-go. Oh, I almost forgot to mention. Our final tally for unnecessary ports is 12. 34 games, and 12 of them are unnecessary ports. That's a little sad. Oh well. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I truly, truly appreciate it. Please consider leaving a like, and any comments, positive or negative, would be greatly appreciated. Until next time, keep it positive and have a delicious day. See you next time!